I want to tell you a story that still haunts me to this day. It's about a friend of mine, someone I hadn't seen in years, someone who I thought I'd left in the past. Her name was Clara. We grew up in the same small town, surrounded by woods and old, forgotten paths. Clara was the type of friend who was always there, always up for an adventure, and always had that smile, the kind that could light up even the darkest days. We were close, so close that everyone called us sisters. But as we grew older, things changed. We went to different high schools, met new people, and drifted apart, as kids often do. The last time I saw Clara was at the end of summer, just before high school. We promised to stay in touch, to never let go of what we had. But life, as it often does, got in the way. Years passed. I moved to the city for college, started a career, and eventually Clara became a distant memory. A cherished one, but distant nonetheless. Until last year. I was going through a rough patch, feeling isolated in a city that never slept. One night, as I was scrolling through social media, a friend request popped up. It was from Clara. At first I thought it was strange. We hadn't spoken in over a decade. But curiosity got the best of me, and I accepted. Immediately, a message came through. "Hey, it's been so long, let's catch up." My heart leapt with a strange mix of excitement and unease. We started chatting, reminiscing about old times, our favorite spots in town, the silly things we did as kids. It felt good, like reconnecting with a piece of my past I'd lost. Then she asked if we could meet up, just like old times. I hesitated. It had been so long, and there was something off about her messages, something that didn't quite feel like the Clara I remembered. But I shrugged it off as nerves and nostalgia playing tricks on me. We agreed to meet the next weekend at the old park where we used to play. When I arrived, the park was eerily quiet, almost as if time had stopped there. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and fallen leaves. I waited on the old bench near the swings, just like we used to. Minutes passed, then an hour. I started to think Clara wasn't coming, that maybe this was all a bad idea. But just as I was about to leave, I saw her. She looked exactly the same, not a day older. Her long brown hair, the same bright eyes, the same smile. For a moment, I felt a rush of warmth and familiarity. But as she got closer, that feeling quickly turned to unease. Her eyes were vacant, her movements slow and deliberate, like she was underwater. She sat down next to me without a word. I tried to make small talk, but she just kept staring at me with that unsettling smile. Finally, she spoke, her voice soft but hollow. "Do you remember the promise we made?" I nodded, unsure of what she meant. "We promised we'd always be friends, no matter what. We promised we wouldn't forget each other." Her words sent a chill down my spine. The way she said them, it was as if she was accusing me of something. I tried to explain that life got in the way, that I never meant to lose touch. But she just kept smiling, that empty smile, and said, "You left me." I stood up, wanting to leave, but her hand shot out and grabbed my wrist. Her grip was ice cold and unnaturally strong. "You left me," she repeated, her smile fading, replaced by something darker. I pulled away, muttering an excuse about needing to go, and practically ran back to my car. As I drove away, I glanced in the rearview mirror. She was still sitting on the bench, watching me leave, that strange, dark expression still on her face. When I got home, I tried to shake it off as a weird encounter, maybe some kind of cruel prank, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was very, very wrong. I decided to look her up online again, see if anyone else had reconnected with her. That's when I found it. A news article from 8 years ago. Clara had gone missing just after high school. Her car was found near a lake, but she was never seen again. The article had photos of vigils, search parties, her family pleading for information. My blood ran cold. I had just seen her, spoken to her. I scrolled further, desperate for some explanation, and found another article dated 2 years later. They had found her body in the lake. She'd been dead for years. I felt a cold sweat break out on my skin. How could I have seen her? How could I have spoken to her? I tried to rationalize it, thinking maybe it was someone who looked like her, maybe a cruel joke. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized there was no explanation. That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, that smile, those vacant eyes. At around 3 a.m., I got up to get some water, trying to calm myself down. As I walked back to my bedroom, I heard it, a soft knock on my window. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. Slowly, I turned to look, and there she was, Clara, standing outside my window, that same empty smile on her face. I backed away, terrified. She pressed her hand against the glass, her expression never changing, and then she whispered, clear as day, "You left me. You promised you wouldn't forget." I ran out of the room, grabbing my phone, dialing 911. But when I turned back, she was gone. The police came, but of course there was no sign of her. No footprints, no evidence, nothing. Just me, alone, trembling in the corner of my living room. Since that night, I haven't seen Clara again. But every year on the anniversary of her death, I receive a message. It's always the same. "I miss you. Remember our promise?" I've tried everything to block the number, but it always finds its way back. And every time I read it, I feel that same chill, that same cold grip on my wrist, as if Clara's still there, waiting for me.